Korngold, of course, was around in Vienna around the turn of the 20th century, which I think probably was one of the most fascinating times of anything artistic in history, and was brought up basically on a diet of Wagner and Strauss. Someone whose family was very close to Gustav Mahler, of course, studying, of course, with Zemlinsky, and we think of the Second Viennese School of Schönberg and Berg and Webern. He has, of course, influences from all of that, but at its heart, the music is a post-Wagnerian, post-Straussian kind of epic, really. So, I mean, you hear a lot of the homage that he pays to Wagner, you hear in it, a lot of the homage he pays to Strauss and to Mahler as well, but also you hear a lot of what we have come to know and think of as film music, really. I mean, Korngold famously was the person that kind of invented the Hollywood soundtrack. We talk a lot about it being written by a young composer, and I was lucky enough earlier this year to conduct Edgar of Puccini, which is very similarly a very, very early piece written by a great opera composer. And this was a question to me that came up a lot when I was working on Edgar, is how does it compare to later operas of Puccini? And I think my answer would be the same for Korngold, which is that in this score, in these pages, you have the complete composer. There's nothing, he doesn't do anything new later. He doesn't develop anything that he's not already in here. I find it so charming that this is a man who is just without limits. I mean, I think one of the things that comes to all of us with youth is ambition. And I think as we get older, we tend to get a little more realistic about what we're capable of, And I think one of the beauties of this piece is that you sense this young person full of ambition who hadn't yet kind of been controlled by what he could do. And all he has is this idea of what could be possible. And so the ambition of the piece is enormous. We hear the kind of youthful brilliance in every page. And he, of course, is fantastic at writing melodies. This the famous two or three very famous melodies from this piece are just, he's brilliant at writing a chanson. But you sense also that as a young composer, he was enjoying discovering the orchestra and discovering what is possible on stage. It goes from this very intimate chanson with mandolin and solo strings up to these huge big ballet scenes, which are, it's almost Stravinsky in the scope of the ballets. And it's a lot of notes. I mean, there's a lot of music to get through. And because it's so full of energy and so full of excitement as a piece, one of the challenges is to try and find these moments where you can actually breathe. Because it's one of these pieces you keep going, you keep turning pages, keep working, keep playing, and then you realize you haven't breathed for the last 5 minutes, and you have to actually just remember, okay, let's take a moment. But actually to discover, it's my first time conducting the piece, and it's the orchestra's first time playing the piece. And to have been able to discover it together has been really fun. I mean, we've had a lot of fun in the rehearsals discovering the piece. It's a huge challenge, of course. I mean, it's incredibly difficult for everybody. But they hear this orchestra, they really rise to the challenge.